Hello, everybody. It's Alan Lowe, and we're here for another great show of the I Told You show. And in studio with me today is two great gentlemen that are doing fantastic things for our local community. And we have the chair of the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, Jerry Demena. How are you today, Jerry?
Great, Alan, and thanks for having us. With me is my old friend Dave Valinsky, who's the co-chair of the chapter, and it's great being here.
Good to have you in studio with us, Dave.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. So tell me a little bit about the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation.
Alan, the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation was founded in 1995 by the late James Kallstrom, who was a well-known FBI director in New York City. He formed it as the Marine Corps Foundation, and then it became the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation. And I'll explain what that is all about.
Sure.
So he founded it in 1995. Our current chairman is General Peter Pace, United States Marine Corps retired, who is the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Wow.
The mission of the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation is educating the children of those who sacrificed all. So what does that mean? If you are a current active duty Marine, if you are a Navy corpsman, because Navy corpsmen are with U.S. Marines wherever they go in the world, if you are a federal law enforcement agent, so you could be an FBI agent, you could be a special agent of the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, Customs, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or if you are a former Marine who serves in local or state law enforcement, such as you're a former Marine and you're working with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office.
Sure.
Should you pass away while you're on the job, your children, your surviving minor children, within 8 weeks will receive a $35,000 educational scholarship that is invested for them. At the present time, it's through Merrill Lynch. That money cannot be touched until that child turns 18 years of age.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So you're the chair of a local chapter, Northeast Florida, correct?
Yes.
And how many chapters are in Florida?
There's another one in Southwest Florida in the Fort Myers area.
Fort Myers. So you, with your position and the organization here, you would be concentrating on local people or local Marines or law enforcement people that are former Marines in our local community that would receive these scholarships.
Well, how the foundation operates is its headquarters are in New York City, or they were in New York City. They moved out to Westchester County to save money. Since 1995, the foundation has given almost $100 million in scholarships out. And this year so far, $890,000 in scholarships have been distributed.
That's amazing. Do we have anybody local that's received any here or
Yes.
about to?
So, and this is what I say when, people ask, well, you're giving to a national organization, how does it help the community?
Right.
For example, in 1996, a year after the foundation was formed, you had the Oklahoma City bombings. From money that the foundation raised throughout the country, even in 1 year of its birth, they were able to give scholarships to the children of federal law enforcement officers and who had died in that bombing. How does it come back to Florida per se?
Yeah.
Well, the best example is our golf tournament and dinner this year is named after Daniel Alfin. So the name Alfin is probably
very
very familiar to
Yeah.
people. Daniel Alfin was a young FBI agent. He specialized in child crime, and he was serving a search warrant in Sunrise, Florida in 2021, and he was shot and killed. Daniel is the son of Mayor David Alfin, and the mayor really didn't want, because of political purposes, to be mentioned as someone that was involved helping our committee, which I commend him for. But
Sure.
now that
Yeah.
he is finishing his term as mayor, I felt it was fair, because he has helped out a lot trying to get this event off the ground. But Daniel Alfin's son, i.e., Mayor Alfin's grandchild, is a $35,000 educational recipient of a MC-LEF grant. So that shows you how it comes back to the community.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And, I also think that it was admirable of the mayor to want to stay sort of under the radar with that at this time. But you're right. I think that it deserves to be known, because his son did give his life in the line of duty for his job with the FBI, and they deserve recognition for it.
Absolutely.
I think it's fantastic what you're able to do. And you mentioned it in the an acronym term. You said MC-LEF, and that stands for the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Because what happens is, sometimes if you just hear the whole title, one would assume, okay, it's just for Marines that are in law
Yeah,
enforcement,
right.
but that's not the case.
Right, right. Well, and so that brings it back to the local, and I think that is fantastic. So you're giving to a national organization, but the monies received by the national organization are then metered out to the local chapters for scholarships locally for those that
Well,
need it.
not even the local chapters, Alan. There may be, because there are several chapters, but obviously not in each state. So, for
Yeah.
example, there can be a Marine family in Iowa, and that Marine passes away on active duty, even though there is not a chapter in that state. That child or children will get the $35,000 scholarship each.
And now, how does the national organization become aware of that? Does the person contact a chapter that's closest to them, or how does that work?
What happens is the foundation has very close working relationships with the Marine Corps and federal law enforcement agencies. Sure. And at each agency and in the Marine Corps, there is someone that is assigned through personnel that knows to contact the Marine Corps Law
Right.
Enforcement Foundation.
That's excellent. So you have a challenge in receiving how you receive fundings and donations and stuff, and so how does somebody go about giving to the organization?
Well, one of the running jokes within the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation is that, what is MC-LEF? Because the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation really believes in having a sense of decorum, as far as most of our fundraising and our ability to get out and be known in the public is really through word of mouth, or through a lot of people with our board of directors who are famous people. The foundation is old-fashioned in the way that they do things. Unlike other organizations out there, the foundation will not do TV ads with a Hollywood movie star or a sports celebrity. So it's really incumbent on the local chapters and New York headquarters to bring forth some of our own heroes within the organization.
Sure.
For example, Marine Colonel Barney Barnum, who is a Vietnam era Medal of Honor recipient. He had a ship named and launched after him up in New England.
Oh, wow.
When he was interviewed, he didn't talk about himself. He spoke about the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation. So one of the challenges is, and especially in a new area where we have not been, is getting the word out. And the second part of that is, well, or the first part really is, we're a new chapter. So how do you get the word out? Well, maybe I'm the precursor of, getting on shows like yours, which is a great show.
And we appreciate you coming in here.
Well, we really appreciate it. And so I think in some sense, the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation is probably moving toward, the days of modern media. But our media challenge is for the event is getting the word out. And we have a great, event and public relations planner in Heather Thompson from HT Production
she's
Company.
fantastic.
And everyone knows Heather. She is working very, very hard. Sheriff Rick Staley, who is a member of our committee, he's working very hard for donors. So, what we're looking for is several levels of involvement. We're looking for golfers to attend the tournament.
Well, let's back up a little bit because you mentioned the event, but let's talk about the event. So the event is a golf tournament that's coming up fairly soon, correct?
Yes, October 14th at Grand Haven Golf Club. The tournament starts off at 8:30. Palm Coast Ford has been very generous. They have put up 2 Ford vehicles for anyone who wins the hole-in-one competition. So you'll have 2 chances to win a Ford.
That's fantastic.
So we have the golf tournament there, and then the Elks Lodge in Palm Coast has been very generous in offering the lodge for our cocktail hour and dinner after the event. So for a golfer, the event is $150, which is a pretty good deal when you figure the golf tournament, the dinner, and then we have a lot of great giveaways, including MC-LEF golf shirt, golf balls, and a variety of other things. So we're looking for the golfers because I think, as everyone understands, that it's great. You could make a little bit of money for charity with the golfers, but where the real donations come from are companies and people who have philanthropy in their heart actually donating to the event.
Right. So let's say, well, I'm not a golfer. I do pretty good. I get 72, but that's 9 holes. So
Yeah, well, that's like me. You're not far off from Dave here.
That's true.
but so if I wanted to get into the event, how would I go about finding a way to register, and how do I contact somebody?
So the best way to do this is go to the Marine Corps Law Enforcement website, which would be MC-LEF.org. And when you go to the website, and it's a great website, Alan, it will show you everything you would want to know. It explains how children are affected by the death of a parent. For example, they have a figure that children from 10 to 13, only 20% of them go to college because of financial issues,
Right.
because of the death of the parent. So it's a very educational website, but it will also lead you to how you could donate. And on the website, you would go to, in the top of the website, it has MC-LEF events. You would click on that. It would go to current events. You would click on that, and then they have pictures of all the events that are coming up, and you would scroll down to ours that says October 14th. You would click on that. What will happen is you will see our cover page where you actually have the opportunity to download a flyer if you wish, which has all the details on what the donation levels are or how to sign up as a golfer or a foursome. So you could do it the old-fashioned way and download that and contact on the flyer. It has my contact information and Heather Thompson's contact information. So you could contact us directly. But the preferred way to donate or sign up is through the system called Give Direct. So what happens is when you click on our event page, as you scroll down, it has a whole menu of what you would like to do. For example, I cannot attend the event, but I'd like to make a donation to MC-LEF.
Oh,
and
sure.
you would click on that and say $25 or $50 or whatever
Right.
you wish to give. It then goes up from there. There's $150 per golfer. If you want to have a golf sign, $200 for 2 signs. And it works its way up through various levels of sponsorship up to $10,000, which is known as the Medal of Honor sponsorship. So Dave could cover that a little more, but what happens is if you give through Give Direct, you will immediately receive a receipt that will say thank you. It will show the amount of money that you donated, and it will say it's tax deductible. So everything that goes through MC-LEF, because it's a 501c3, anyone who donates or attends the golf event, it's tax deductible. If you go through, let's say myself or Heather directly, at some point when I recover from everything, you will get an actual letter in the mail from me thanking you and also laying out, your tax-free donation. Obviously, if we have major donors, we would meet with them personally
Sure.
and do it that way.
Well, hopefully you'll have quite a few major donors. I think this is a fantastic operation. Dave, he threw a little bit over towards you, so you want to...
Yeah, there's a couple things here I wanted to mention. The golf tournament is going to be held at the Grand Haven Country Club, which is a very nice golf course. As Jerry stated, the tournament's registration is at 8:30 a.m.
When's the cutoff to register? Or could you do it right there?
Well,
you can come the day of if you want to.
Okay.
We had that. We ran a golf tournament similar to this several months ago, and there were people who showed up on the day of the tournament. We're not going to turn you down.
Excellent. That's
Yeah,
good.
so Heather Thompson's not shy about reeling people in. So probably pretty much almost into the last minute.
Sure.
The other thing that Jerry mentioned, MC-LEF is a 501c3, tax deductible donations. So the other thing that I wanted to point out before we go through some of the other levels of donating, 90 to 96% of the donations, 90 to 96
Paper.
Oh, sorry about that. 90 to 96% of the donations go to the mission. In other words, those scholarships.
So they go where they're supposed to go.
There's only one paid position on MC-LEF, and that's it. Everybody else are volunteers.
So you're a volunteer?
Yeah, volunteer. The
Excellent.
people up in New York are all volunteers. The chairman of the MC-LEF organization nationwide is a volunteer.
Oh,
There's only one paid position, and that's probably, I think it's a secretary or something
yeah.
like that.
Well, that's understandable.
But anyway, there are several levels of donating to the tournament. Of course, the golfers are $150 each, $600 a foursome. But we desperately need some good sponsors. And remember, this is a 501c3.
So
The
a corporation could donate and then
Yes.
use it as a tax write.
Yes. In fact, so we've got Palm Coast Ford is helping us out.
Right.
We've got the largest donation is a $10,000 Medal of Honor sponsor. There are a number of different things that go along with that as a sponsor. including 2 complimentary golf foursomes.
Foursomes. Oh.
Foursomes, yep. Then we have the Navy Cross. That's a $7,500 donation. Again, there are a number of great benefits with that at the tournament, with signage, etc., including another foursome. Got a $5,000 Silver Star breakfast sponsor, and that's when the golfers come in. They'll come in the first thing in the morning to register, and then they want something to eat, or they
Sure.
want a cup of coffee. Well, your signage is going to be all over that place. And then we have $1,500 gift bag sponsors. Game day. I love this one. The game day pass, $1,000 sponsor. You've got the game day passes are purchased by the golfers for a little extra benefits on the course, such as they get to play for that hole in one and maybe win those cars. If you don't have the game day pass, you're not eligible for that.
You get
or
the
like
whole
the
one, but
longest
you don't
drive.
get the car.
You don't get the car. That's right. You might get the hole one. You might get the hole in one, but you don't get the car. So the sponsor, that sponsor's name is plastered all over those game day cards. You got the beverage carts sponsorships at $1,000, and the hot dog sponsor. Those are carts that are at certain turns of the golf course. $500 sponsor, and then we have the hole sponsors, which I plan to buy at least a couple of them. They're $150 each, or $200 for 2 signs.
Sure, that's great.
And of course, we need the golfers. It's a fun day. It's a great time of the year to play. It's October 14th. The weather's going to be beautiful. So come on out.
So, Jerry, is there a cutoff on number of golfers that you might want, or you just keep going?
We like to probably cap it around 100 or so, maybe a little bit more. This way, the course is not too crowded, and
Sure.
everyone can really enjoy their time at the event.
Now, I was in a golf tournament for the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation a couple of months ago. Didn't play at that course. We played at a different course, but fortunately for the rest of the team, it was best ball. Is this best ball, or is this everybody gets their own score?
Absolutely, best ball.
Best
and
ball.
What we're probably going to do, what we're probably going to do, Alan, is, and I saw this at actually an Elks tournament. A lot of teams come in with outrageously low scores.
Yeah.
And it's because I come to find out they don't use their mulligans, and then they add them all up afterwards, and they subtract them from the score or whatever. So I actually saw this at an Elks tournament where the grand prize winner was the category that said most honest score. So we're gonna see about that one. But we've got a great committee here that's working very hard. My old friend here, Dave Valinsky from Ollie North days. He's been working very hard to help me out. Obviously, Peter Pace is, de facto on our little committee because he's the head of MC-LEF. But,
Sure.
We got Sheriff Rick Staley, Colonel Tim Miller, who just retired from the Marine Corps as the commanding officer of Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, South Carolina. Obviously, Mayor Alphen. We got Sharon Demers, our Republican state committee woman whose husband is a Marine, and
Yes.
that's the reason, she's helping out. Obviously, Heather Thompson is bearing the brunt of a lot of this with HT Productions.
And not to interrupt you, but she has, I belong to a couple of different networking groups, and she's made sure everybody in the groups know that this is coming up. And she doesn't just announce it once, she drills it into everybody's head.
Yeah, she's not shy about it.
No,
that's
not
for
at all.
sure. But that's what you need. And so, no good deed goes unpunished, Alan. And how I got involved with this is I go to I'm a retired Marine officer of 20 years between active duty and reserve,
Thank you
and
for your
a
service.
former federal law enforcement officer with the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, as is Dave. Now, Dave's not a Marine, but his late father, Ted, was a real hero. His father, Ted, fought on Iwo Jima. So
wow.
Dave's the closest thing to being a Marine if you're not a Marine. So he's our honorary
But Dave,
Marine.
But Dave, so you weren't a Marine, but you do have an interesting background with Oliver North and so forth.
Yeah, we do.
So are you still or his chief of staff?
Yeah, I'm technically I'm still his chief of staff. I handle all his media appearances, his social media, all that, and right now he's at a stage of his life that his wife is suffering some illnesses, so
sadly.
it's slowed down a little bit, but I'm still there for him, and you're doing okay.
So you have
By the way, I am a former law enforcement officer.
yes. So you have some pretty impressive people on the committee.
Yes. And
that's
I
great.
got off track, but the way I got involved is I go to a Marine Corps birthday dinner, November 10th, every year at Sparks Steakhouse in New York City. And what happened was I met a lot of the people from MC-LEF that were at this event. And a year or two goes by, and I did not learn my lesson of military days of never volunteer for anything. Well, I asked them and I said, well, if there's ever anything I can do. So they put the arm on me last year, and here I am. But it's a great cause, and we're determining who we're going to have as some of the guest speakers. Obviously, Sheriff Staley will be speaking. Sure. The Colonel will be speaking. We are hopeful that Colonel North will be able to make it, but we're not quite sure because, as Dave said, the health of Betsy. And there's some other people we're looking at, but at this point, we're not sure.
Sure.
But it should be a great event. Dave and I have been working together for many, many years. I ran Ollie's protective detail during the Iran-Contra hearings, and then left the government, set up Ollie's private security. And then Dave came aboard, and then several years later, I left to do other things, and Dave took over. So we're going to put the arm on Colonel North if when appropriate. So.
Well, before we wrap this up, I'd like you to give the website and the contact information one more time, and then we'll also put it in the comments on below this video so that people can just click the link. So what is it?
The website is MC-LEF.org, and when you scroll through the website, you will find our event under October 14th. And you will also see our flyer there. If you do not wish to register or make a donation through the website, on the flyer, it will show you how to contact me and Heather Thompson of HT Productions. And I would say that every little bit helps. John Keenan, the president of the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, will be down here for the event. He's retired FBI and former head of NFL security. And he has said to me, has said, Jerry, just do the event right. Yeah. Even if you only make $5,000. The goal would always be $35,000 sure. Because in my mind, that's one complete scholarship.
Sure.
But John is really good about it, and he has said, even if you only make $5,000, that's $5,000 that's going to go to a child that we didn't have previously, at the start of the day. Yeah. And I think
what a great way to look at it.
That's really important. So if people go through the website and they say, look, I really can't afford much, but I'll chip in $50. Well, you get 100 people or 200 people doing that.
Sure.
Then to me, that's a great day.
That's great. Well, Dave, do you have any closing comments?
No, I think you guys have covered everything. We're looking forward to a good event and a good moneymaker for this organization.
Sure. And anything you'd like to say before we cut out?
No, I'd just like to direct everyone to the website, and even if you can't give now, familiarize yourself with the organization, because it's a wonderful organization that's doing a lot of wonderful things. And I know that, every time someone tends to turn around, there's some organization asking for money. But this is an organization that when you give money, you know that 93 to 96% of what you're giving is going to
Going where
some
it
child
belongs.
who has lost a parent.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for coming in and using the Flagler Voice podcast studio as a platform to get your information out, and we'll be sure to push it everywhere. I really appreciate it, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank
we
you, Alan.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.